In the first quarter of 2018, we have seen very positive performance in the highways assets. Starting with Canada, the 407 grew EBITDA at 14%, and traffic also grew at 2.5%. This is remarkable given that conditions this year were worse than in 2017. Also, dividends grew at 9%. Looking into Texas, NT and LBJ, the managed lanes, had EBITDA growth of more than 20%. And they are expected to start paying dividends, NT in 2019 and LBJ in 2020, both after 5 years of starting operations. Also, later this year, we plan to open the NT extension, and the high traffic in the corridor bodes well for this asset. If we move into airports, we have Heathrow posting another record, this time in terms of traffic in the first quarter, and also dividends grew by more than 20%. Aberdeen, Glasgow and Southampton also had growth in EBITDA, and we have to take into consideration that Glasgow was closed for a couple of days due to bad weather conditions. Moving into contracting, starting with construction, we have construction trading at 1% EBIT to sales margin. This is in line with what we commented at the year-end conference call, and it should improve along the year. If we look into services, Amy has 2% EBITDA margin ex-Birmingham, also in line with expectations. And then we have Birmingham, where we took a provision of 236 million euros. This provision is related, most of it with CapEx, that is being brought forward from a later phase to the current performance obligation. Since we don't have revenues left for the current performance obligation, we have to incur a loss. But bear in mind that this loss will be an improvement in the profitability of the later phase in a similar amount. Of course, the provision also takes into account higher level of performance deductions that will be challenged. The remainder of services, Broad Spectrum in Australia is trading at 3% EBITDA to sales margin, and in line with expectations. And then we have Spain that is growing more and with maintaining profitability better than what we expected. If we look into the cash situation, the cash position is more than 100 million euros at the end of the first quarter, with similar working capital erosion as in other years. But this time we also have to take into account that we dedicated more than 60 million euros to buyback of shares, and there were no divestments, whereas last year there was no money dedicated to buyback of shares, and at the same time there was the divestment of a stake in Budimex for 59 million euros. In summary, the quarter is taking care of Birmingham with this provision. You should set aside that contract. Then we have construction and services trading along expectations, and all highways and airports are trading much better than expected, and they are the assets that drive the valuation of Ferrovial higher.